My God, it's Stone Cold. The Hellraiser is back.
Here we go. Evolution of the Shield.
John Cena versus the Showstopper.
Hulk Hogan and The Rock in the same ring.
You will never take my place at the head of the table.
Undertaker with a Hell's Gate submission. Oh my God! What?
My God, Michaels just kicked Cena's head off.
The Monday Night Wars have come to WrestleMania.
It'll be The Rock. It'll be Austin one-on-one.
Third and five to the Undertaker.
Do you believe in miracles?
The streak is over.
Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Rivalries here on the WWE podcast on this Friday, June 4th, as we are just a few days away from the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, a pay-per-view that's not really getting a lot of hype here, and I gotta say, it's made me not really care all that much about Hell in a Cell matches. As you know, I know Matt and I have talked about several times that when you have a gimmick match built into the schedule, it feels a lot less. It feels a lot less important. You know, we've seen that with TLC, Hell in a Cell, obviously, Elimination Chamber to an extent as well, although that has historically been my favorite match in the history of WWE. But even I could admit that over the last decade or so, it really has become watered down because of it being built into the schedule. But as always, we're not here to talk about gimmick matches or the current state of WWE. That's reserved, easy enough for me to say, for our Monday night shows. We are here to go back in time, and tonight we are going to be talking about, or today, depending when you're listening to this, the rise and peak and fall of Evolution, arguably the greatest faction in the history of professional wrestling. So you really have to go back all the way to the Attitude Era, or the tail end of the Attitude Era, to realize when this first started. Because it kind of started with the rise of Triple H to stardom in WWE. And, you know, I would say in the later part of 1999, when he branched off from the corporation, and by extension the corporate ministry, won his first WWF championship in the late summer of 1999. And then went on to have a pretty storied rivalry with The Rock throughout the year 2000. Obviously goes up against Stone Cold Steve Austin in late 2000, early 2001 in the whodunit angle when Steve Austin got written off television in the fall of 1999. And then in the year 2001, forming the two-man power trip. Before that, having his first of 3 encounters with Triple H at WrestleMania. And he would get hurt in the spring of 2001. That would keep him out all the way until January of 2002. 2002, he comes back as a babyface. The first time we had seen Triple H as a babyface since pre-Degeneration X. And to be honest with you, you could make the case that it was the first time we had ever seen Triple H as a babyface at all. Because even before Degeneration X, he had been, or even before the corporation, he had been a babyface. I guess you could argue, or he had been a heel. I guess you could argue that the post Shawn Michaels version of Degeneration X in 1998 was kind of a babyface Triple H when he was going against The Rock and the Nation of Domination. So it was the first time in just about 4 years we had seen a babyface version of Triple H. But the first time, surely, that we had seen him as a main eventer as a babyface. So obviously 2002, we see the brand split get put into place. We see Austin and Austin and The Rock step away from the WWE as full-time in-ring competitors. Austin with the walkout in the summer of 2002. The Rock leaving after dropping the title to Brock Lesnar after SummerSlam of 2002. And we kind of see Triple H handed the reins here as the guy, certainly over on Monday Night Raw. Over, obviously, on SmackDown, you had the next big thing, the up-and-comer Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, The Undertaker. But on Monday Night Raw, it was the Triple H show. And many people will refer to this time as the reign of terror of Triple H. But I just think that he was just that damn good, as his slogan was at that time, that he deserved it. But what does every good heel need? He needs a stable. And that's what we went to quick work with in early 2003. We saw him get aligned with Ric Flair in the fall of 2002, and then quickly we saw him jump into the program with Scott Steiner following him regaining the World Heavyweight Championship after Armageddon 2002, after Shawn Michaels' short 1 month run with the championship, after winning it at the first ever Elimination Chamber at Survivor Series. And it was during the Scott Steiner rivalry with Triple H that we would get to see the first ever version, or the first ever segment rather, of Triple H's newest faction.
And baby, you're looking at it. But evolution always continues, and you have to look to the future. And I look to you, Dave Batista, 6'5", 325 pounds of genetic stopping power, unbridled destruction. In a war, when all seems lost, you take out your biggest gun and you blow them all away.
Batista can do that. I can tell you that. He's a monster.
And Randy Orton, the business is in his blood. Third generation superstar. The man has every gift that a man can be given. Right? Raw genetic talent. Randy Orton is the diamond. Randy Orton is the coal that will be squeezed into the next diamond. You see, in life, everything happens for a reason. It's just a natural process of evolution. You see, and if you don't have what it takes, then evolution will leave you behind. So if you wake up one day and you're lying in a hospital bed and you're all beat up and you're wondering to yourself, what in the hell happened? Then there's just one answer for you. Evolution has just passed you by.
Well, evolution or not, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, Triple H will find out who his adversary will be. And no way out for the World Heavyweight.
So we see the first ever debut, or the first ever segment with Evolution, introducing Batista to the group, introducing Randy Orton as the future of the company, obviously Ric Flair there as well, and we get a glimpse into the future through the eyes of Triple H. And just on a side note, how great is Triple H on promos? He is just so excellent, and he gets you to buy into whatever he was talking about. And he truly was the best at this time, in my opinion at least. Obviously, Kurt Angle could have something to say about that, The Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, but Triple H had it all. And reinventing himself as kind of like kind of like a newer version of Ric Flair, but with the cerebral assassin element to him. Unfortunately, the whole Evolution thing kind of had to get put on hold very quickly out of the gate because you had Randy Orton and Batista both get hurt shortly after their debut. So you would have Triple H and Ric Flair kind of go back on their own for a bit, as we had seen them in the fall of 2002. And you see Triple H have the successful title defense against Booker T at WrestleMania 19. He has a short program with Kevin Nash. He also has the infamous program with Kane. And that is when we kind of get the return of Randy Orton in the summer of 2003. So for a while there, you had Evolution with Orton, Flair, and Triple H, and it took Batista a bit while to get back. But one of the big moments that I remember from Evolution was at SummerSlam 2003 inside the Elimination Chamber, because you had not one but two members of Evolution involved in the second ever Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship in Triple H and Randy Orton. And the way this match would end, coming down to Triple H and Bill Goldberg, was kind of a microcosm of the entire story that we would come to know when it came to Evolution. So, just when you think Goldberg has the match won, Ric Flair slides Triple H the sledgehammer, gets the 1-2-3, and then proceeds with the help of Orton coming back to the ring with handcuffs and Ric Flair getting in the chamber to beat the holy hell out of Goldberg. And this is kind of like what we came to know when it came to Evolution, is that they always had the upper hand, that you could always play the numbers game. You had Ric Flair always watching Triple H's back, and Randy Orton as kind of a loyal henchman, and when he would get back as well, Batista, who was the big muscle, to Triple H. And their main goal was to keep that world championship on Triple H. He would eventually drop it to Goldberg at the very next pay-per-view, and this would spill all the way into Armageddon 2003. And at this particular pay-per-view, we would have Randy Orton win his first ever championship as becoming the Intercontinental Champion. And then you had Batista and Ric Flair win a tag team turmoil to become the World Tag Team Champions, aka the Raw Tag Team Champions. And the main event of this card was a triple threat match between Triple H, Kane, and the defending World Heavyweight Champion, Goldberg. And it was at the end of this match where we got to see the pinnacle and the absolute peak of Evolution.
How any of these three All three of them still on their feet. And Goldberg going through Orton. Again, and Kane with a double clothesline. Man, that is raw power and emotion. The will to win here by Goldberg, who has dodged every bullet that has been shot at him here in the WWE. He's been double teamed all night by Triple H and this monster Kane. But he's still there. Another spear on Kane. A second spear on Kane. Kane taken down. And Goldberg. I don't think even Kane can sit up from that. Goldberg having a hard time standing. But he is standing. Goldberg. Got something on his nose here. But the spear on the game. Just like a Survivor Series. Wait a minute. The Revolution. There's a little disqualification match. Randy Orton doing a double attempt. Thanks in the ring. And Goldberg again. Taking down the game. There's a cover. It's going to be over. It's going to be over. And Kane. Like hard, clubbing, sickening blow to the back of Goldberg's head. Now look at this carnage, JR. The body's all over the ring and around the ring. Oh, we got to get some security out here. Get Flair Orton the hell out of here. Goldberg sending Kane to the right. The game is down. And now Goldberg. Does he touch that Kane? I don't tell you. Choke him out. Even Goldberg can't do this, I don't think. Goldberg trying to choke Kane out. And another disqualification match. With the leverage advantage here is what is setting for Kane. He's going to blink. No. Here's the match here. Goldberg and Kane. Just choking each other. Kane almost to one lead. Oh, that's the death blow. There. The low blow on Goldberg. Look at Kane with a choke slam. The choke slam like Kane. Batista. Batista up here. Batista took Kane out of the ring. Triple H is going to the ring. Can't believe it. Triple H is pinned. Goldberg.
Heavyweight champion, Triple H.
Triple H is the champion. Kane can't believe it. Batista retreating from Kane.
And again, in classic Evolution fashion, they use the numbers to their advantage, allow Triple H to hit the low blow on Goldberg. Batista pulls Kane out of the ring after the choke slam to Goldberg, and Triple H is able to capitalize. And you had Triple H and the rest of Evolution holding all the gold over on Monday Night Raw. The Intercontinental Championship, the World Championship, the Tag Team titles. Kind of similar to what we're seeing from the Bloodline right now, except you also had the Mid-Card Championship with Evolution held by Randy Orton. And then, you go into WrestleMania 20 and you have Evolution Saw of Triple H defeat Rock and Saw Connection, another elevation win for Randy Orton specifically. And this is when you start to see Evolution's Randy Orton start to get a push, as Triple H drops the World Heavyweight Championship to Chris Benoit at WrestleMania 20, and Randy Orton would lose the Intercontinental Championship later that year at the Vengeance pay-per-view to Edge. And we would see Randy Orton become the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. And this is like when you start to see a bit of unconventional stuff from Evolution, because you had Triple H not in the World Heavyweight Championship picture anymore. And you had Randy Orton, who had been dubbed as the future just 18 months prior from Triple H, now be getting his time to shine in the light. And he would successfully win the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam 2004 against Chris Benoit. And it was the next night on Monday Night Raw, during Randy Orton's first successful title defense against Chris Benoit in his rematch, where we would see one of the biggest moments in the history of Evolution.
Randy Orton walks that aisle as the World Heavyweight Champion. What a
So after Randy Orton retains the World Heavyweight Championship, he gets a rude awakening and effectively kicked out of the group unless he wanted to relinquish the World Heavyweight Championship back to Triple H, and they just gave him a hell of a beat down here, busted him wide open. Flair, Batista, Triple H all taking their shots on him. And the very next week on Monday Night Raw, he would make the decision to spit in Triple H's face, effectively leaving the group and going on a singles babyface run, a very failed run of Randy Orton's career, as they've talked about it, you know, off script kind of, about how he wasn't ready for it, wasn't mature and all that. And as we know, in his prime, Randy Orton, a much better heel than a babyface. But this was the first major change we had seen to Evolution during its 18 months in existence. You know, Randy Orton, the guy who was dubbed as the future, the guy that everyone saw was the blue chip prospect of the group, defects away. And now you are down to Triple H, Ric Flair, and Batista. And the group would hold steady for just about 4 months or so, right up around until January. This happened in August. So around January of 2004, or 2005 rather, you start to feel an organic push coming for Batista as the crowd organically really starts to get behind him. And, you know, we had kind of seen the Randy Orton Triple H thing beaten to death. We had seen Triple H regain the World Heavyweight title at Unforgiven in September. Then you have the 4-on-4 Classic Survivor Series match of basically Team Triple H versus Team Orton. You had Triple H successfully regain the World Heavyweight Championship at New Year's Resolution, or Revolution, whatever it used to be called, in early 2005 in January, defeating Randy Orton to finish the Elimination Chamber as the final two members, and then ultimately culminating at the Royal Rumble in 2005, where Triple H would successfully defend against Randy Orton to retain his World Heavyweight Championship. So post-Rumble in 2005, we had really had a bow put on the Randy Orton Triple H program, at least for a few years. Obviously, we would get way more installments of Orton versus Triple H at WrestleMania 24, WrestleMania 25, the whole Stephanie McMahon kiss. We all know that happened, but their initial rivalry would kind of come to a close at the Rumble in 2005. But something else that happened at the Rumble in 2005 was Batista winning the Royal Rumble and getting his right to choose which world champion he would want to face at that year's WrestleMania. And we had had the tease of him going to SmackDown, of JBL's limo trying to run him over in the parking lot. You had Triple H trying to advocate for him to go to SmackDown, be the WWE champion, and Triple H would stay on Raw to be the world champion, and then they would hold all the gold. And then there's that famous clip of Triple H talking to Ric Flair in the locker room, saying that he was the one who staged to make it seem like Batista, or make it seem that JBL tried to run him over, that he actually went out and rented a limo and put horns on it, and calling Batista stupid, and that famous shot of Batista listening on the other side of the corridor. And this would lead to the contract signing on Monday Night Raw of where, or who rather, Batista would choose to face off against at WrestleMania 21. And this is when we would see the final implosion of Evolution.
We could have written history. Do you see that, Dave? But it never happened. You and I have an opportunity to make history, and we owe it to ourselves to do it. Now, Dave, I don't want you to be concerned about Bradshaw. I don't want you to be concerned about Cena, because I know deep inside of my heart you could beat both those guys at the same time like that. You see, Dave, we have an opportunity to do the greatest thing that has ever been done in this industry. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to the world. you and I to walk that aisle with the Nature Boy Ric Flair side by side, owning this business. Doesn't seem like a difficult decision to me at all, Dave. It really doesn't. And I've got a feeling you know what you want to do, big man, don't you? You know what you want to do.
Hunter, I've known what I was going to do for a long time. Hunter, I'm staying right here on Raw. And on WrestleMania, I'm taking the World Championship from you.
So one of the biggest babyface turns of the Ruthless Aggression era, I would have to say, was Batista turning on Evolution. And one of the most vicious power bombs ever, Mike. Like, I would encourage you guys to go see it. The audio does not do it justice. He absolutely obliterates Triple H through that table and signs the contract. And that would be it for Evolution for quite some time as far as its first installment went, as Batista would go on to win the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania and hold it all the way until January of the following year when he would have to relinquish it. And, you know, Evolution did exactly what factions are meant to do. And they created two absolute superstars in Orton and in Batista. It took Orton a bit longer to get there. I don't think they expected Batista to be winning a Royal Rumble and main eventing a WrestleMania before Randy Orton. Obviously, they had to kind of double back with Orton, make him turn heel again, face off against The Undertaker, and it would kind of come full circle for him at a later time. And all in all, I think we could all agree on Randy Orton being the bigger star of the two in the grand scheme of things. But in the immediate aftermath of Evolution, Batista was the star that really took off. And I don't think they expected it from Batista. I think the entire plan for a long time was to push Randy Orton as the next Triple H, as the next guy in this business, and he certainly lived up to that in due time. But, you know, you have to remember here is that Batista was the same age as Triple H. You know, he was not a spring chicken when he finally got the push in 2005 as the World Heavyweight Champion. And he kind of ran parallel with John Cena in 2005, 2006, even 2007 as the top baby faces in the company. And I would say it was only in about the year 2007 where you really started to see a clear-cut separation between Cena and Batista, because in the early going, it was really neck and neck between those two. It was kind of like Rock and Austin, with Randy Orton playing the role of Triple H, if you want to draw a parallel to the Attitude Era. But as we know, Batista would walk away, and I believe it was 2009, from a full-time competitor, and would return in 2014, where we would see one final installment of Evolution that would last about a month or so, when they would go up against, they went up against the Shield. That was cool to see the band back together, as JBL coined it. But all in all, one of the most historic factions that ran roughshod on Raw for just about 2 years during the peak and the height of the Ruthless Aggression Era. And you kind of had two superstars made. Obviously, Batista already a Hall of Famer, or at least he was about to be inducted. I don't know if he ever ended up getting inducted, because he was supposed to go in 2020, and obviously we know what happened with COVID. And Randy Orton, he's not there yet. He's still going strong as a full-time competitor, but he is a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer whenever he hangs up the boots once and for all. And Evolution, all in all, they were one of the highlights of the Ruthless Aggression Era, made two superstars which dominated the succeeding era, and just one of the true best factions in the history of the wrestling business. Well, anyway, guys, that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed Evolution. As always, you can get me on Twitter at ADamarco25. You can get Matt on Twitter at Wrestling_audio, or you can email him each and every week for the WWE mailbag episode. Anyway, guys, stay safe out there. I'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.